The Nigerian Senate, under the leadership of Senate President Godswill Akpabio, on Tuesday, suspended Senator Abdul Ningi over allegations of 3.7 trillion naira padding of the 2024 budget. Ningi, of the People's Democratic Party from Bauchi Central Senatorial District, was suspended for 3 months after a long stormy session in the Red Chambers. A member of the Appropriation Committee in the Senate, Jimoh Ibrahim, first moved the motion for Ningi's suspension for 12 months over allegation of criminal misinformation and breach of peace in the National Assembly and the country by extension. However, other lawmakers like Senator Asuko Ekpeyang moved for the amendment from Cross River South Senatorial District, and also Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari from Oyo North prayed for the suspension to be 6 and 3 months respectively. Then Akpabio, who described Ningi's offense as grievous, conducted a voice vote during which most of the lawmakers voted in support of Ningi's suspension for 3 months. It will be recalled that on Saturday, while having an interview with the BBC House Service, Ningi claimed that the federal government was operating 2 versions of the 2024 budget, and that 28.7 trillion budget passed and signed into law by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was fashioned against the North, prompting many senators and the presidency to pronounce on, or rather pounce on Ningi, describing his claim as far-fetched and uncommon of a leader of his status. Ningi had on Monday said he was ready to carry his cross, even if it means suspension from the Oba Legislative Chamber, which means his wish had come true. But the big question and the big story for today: will the suspension put an end to the allegation and the issue of budget padding? And what about the revelation that came out on account of the drama? Well, this and more is what this edition of the Big Story is all about. I will talk about budget padding allegation and suspension of no other but Senator Ningi. That's what we're having as a major discourse today on the Big Story. We're looking at the purported, or rather the suspension of no other but Abdul Ningi yesterday from the Senate for 3 months over the allegation of misinformation to the public of the 2024 budget. But anyway, he's right here in the studio with us to help us talk about it. I'm talking of no other person but Comrade FM&TV. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Yeah, good morning. Like as I told Alex this morning, we are not going to pad the story.
Well, we're not padding it, but also joining us all the way from Abuja is no other but Barrister Frank Osia. Good morning and welcome to the show also.
Good morning, my brother.
Well, I do know Abuja is indeed having a climate of whether uncertainty as it concerns more revelation coming from the Senate. And we're talking about the Red Chambers. But I was first want us to look at what happened. And I'm talking about looking at Senator Ningi and what he said on Monday, when he said he was ready to carry his cross. And well, if the allegations were not true. And yesterday, well, it looks as if his wish finally came true, and he was suspended for 3 months. Well, when it was ascertained that the allegations he said were not true. But anyway, I just want your reaction as it concerns what transpired, not just yesterday, starting from when we had the drama from on Saturday, when he had that interview with the BBC, stating that about 3 trillion was added to the budget that was passed by the National Assembly, up to when we got the finale or grand finale yesterday, when he was suspended for 3 months. And I just want your reaction. Now, do you feel that he was rather, as no others, Senator Bamidele said, that he was rather a feeling of ignorance on the part of the senator that brought about what he said? Or do you feel he knew what he was doing, but like many will say, he was just only after raising unnecessary tension between the northern senators of the north against this administration. I just want your clarity as you react to all the epic drama starting from on Saturday down to yesterday. Go ahead, Barrister Frank Osia.
So, Senator Ningi is in the eye of the storm right now.
Yes.
For what I will call self-serving activism. I call it self-serving activism because Senator Ningi was part of, in fact, he was already a member, he was part of them when they passed the budget.
Yes.
Was he not there?
He was, and he is presently the chairman of population.
Realized,
yeah.
At what point did he realize that the budget was padded? It is self-indicting now. That means you were also part of the party now. Not so. You were there. So that's why I call it self-serving activity. You see, I see, no matter what anybody says, I know senators are not saying, Nigerian politicians are not saying. Well, I agree. But what I take strong exception to is when people want to pull wool over our eyes, when people want to blackmail people or blackmail a certain segment of this country for their selfish interest. The moment Ningi said the budget was skewed against the North,
yes,
I stopped taking him serious. It took out the objectivity of whatever it was about. Okay?
Yeah.
Secondly, he was appropriating and reprobating at the same time. Don't forget, the BBC interview, the Hausa language was transcribed. And he said all of those things that he later was denying. Sometimes he was not man enough. There was no evidence to back up his claim that 3.7 trillion was added to the budget. So what kind of thing is that? The man was angry because perhaps certain things didn't come to him. And it was an attempt to blackmail the South.
Yeah.
But that was what got me very livid. How can you say the budget was skewed against the North? What kind of thing is that? And until it was suspended, it was unable to prove that we are operating 2% of budget. And 25 trillion was passed. However, the president was implementing 28.7 trillion. Come on. That was really low.
So you feel it was not an issue of ignorance, because if you also look at that very budget, most of the details of the budget, like that of the CBN and others, were not embedded, and naturally were never embedded in the budget. So for you, it's not a thing of ignorance, but he knew what he was doing, and like he said, he got what he deserved.
Of course, it could be both ways. It could be as a result of false ignorance as well as mischief, or both. Okay?
Yeah.
Senator Ningi is not a first-time senator.
Okay.
He's a ranking senator. Senator Ningi ought to know that according to the Fiscal Responsibility Act, certain revenue-generating agencies of government are not included in the budget. If you look at the Fiscal Responsibility Act, those agencies are listed there. The CBN is one of them.
Yes.
The NDDC is one of them.
Yes.
That's exactly you see. So if Senator Ningi telling us he's not aware of that, so if he's not aware, again, that goes to show is an indictment on his person or his competence. Then what I said is an attempt to blackmail a certain segment of this country. It's an attempt, it's mischief. The action of Ningi is born out of mischief. It's because it came under the auspices of the Northern
Senators Forum.
Okay? And to say that, interestingly enough, all the members of the Northern
Senators Forum
distanced themselves from Ningi and what it was about. That's to show you that what Ningi was about lost credibility from the word go. And so it could be both ignorance and mischief what we are looking at.
Okay, well, I'll come back to you, Barrister Frank Osia. Let me quickly come to you, Comrade Efe-Odomo. Well, you heard what Barrister Frank Osia said. He felt it was both ignorance on the part of the suspended senator and that of mischief. Now for you, I just want your reaction as it concerns all this melodrama, starting from what happened on Saturday when he granted that interview to the BBC House of Service, to what transpired yesterday. Many will call it a grand finale, looking at how he was suspended, and even the request for apology on his part. I want your reactions to that. Yeah. Ignorance or mischief?
No, he never expected the joke to have gone so far.
A joke, you call it?
Yeah, a joke gone too far. That's the way I call it.
Okay.
You know, last time they wanted to impeach OPJ during the time of Ali Naba. That was the statement they used to conclude it. It was a joke gone too far. Himself, I don't think he even expected what he got. You know, he just said, I'll carry my cross, I will do this, I will do that. That's a statement of a bold face. You are drowning and you are still trying to let people know that, yes, I'm a man.
Yes.
But the area I never thought the Senate actually looked at, that statement is very weighty. If myself, at my capacity, make such statement, nobody will even know I've said anything.
Yes.
But for somebody from his capacity,
a high-ranking senator,
to make that statement, it's not just enough to just say, okay, there was a rowdy session, the Senate suspended him. Why don't they investigate that matter to the bottom and actually establish some prima facie of the case before they take any action on it?
So you feel it was a bit too hasty from coming from the
Yes, a bit too hasty, if not even too hasty. Because when you say you padded the budget, possibly when he has been in the Senate, they were doing things like that. And now, when he didn't hear anything like that, he would think that they are bypassing to do it. So you can raise that false alarm. And true, there can also be an element of truth in that something. So
you feel it's more like self-indictment, just like Barrister Frank was here?
Yes, it's indicting himself. Because what they were doing in the past, budget party didn't start today. Neither I don't think it will even end in this administration.
Most certainly.
Yes. So it's self-indicting. But what he should have done was to have gotten all his facts together before coming to the public to make such a witty allegation. You know, when this thing happened in the administration of Jonathan, yes, they suspended Jibrin.
Yeah.
Is it from Sokoto, where he came from then? And he was mentioning names. What happened to those names he mentioned? At the end of the day, he came back to the House. He was in the House of Reps. Yeah. What did they do to him? He continued as a lawmaker. I don't know whether he's still in the...
well, anyway, Mr. Integrity has some integrity issue to still deal with.
Exactly. So, it's not every statement we just look and say, okay, please suspend him and let him go. Because you now make people to start thinking that there is something also they are trying to hide, that they want to push him out in a hurry so that they will just kill that matter.
No, talking about what they will kill, we'll come back to that because I'm really interested in what he raised. And that's the issue of 500 million to senior ranking senators. But let me come back to you, Barrister Frank Osia. Now, Senator Bamidele said a lot yesterday as he reacted to the suspension of Abdul Ningi. And I'd rather not take him out of context. I'd rather take what he said and go straight to his statement. Now, he said, I'm talking about Senator Bamidele, he said, what my big brother, distinguished Senator Abdul Ningi, whom I respect well, planned to do or set out to do was tantamount to a civil or civilian coup, which had failed, and in doing this, he wanted to use the platform of the Northern Senators Forum. And he said it was never about Mr. President who signed the budget. It was always after Akpabio, who he is going after, and I had the stable Senate. Now, it's all about him pitching the North and the South, and we should stick to what our own rules talks about in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, Barrister Frank Osia, Senator Bamidele said a lot yesterday, but the insinuation he's giving us, it doesn't look as if Senator Abdul Ningi was after the presidency, but rather after the Senate president. And the reason I ask this, if you take your mind way back to June, when the Senate president himself had that victory, when he had 63 votes over 43 of Abdul Lazi of Zamfara State, former governor of Zamfara State, there have always been these push to bring him down. So do you buy the assertion of Senator Bamidele saying that, well, this was never always after the presidency, but rather after the Senate president got to Akpabio? Hello? Okay, we'll try and see how we can bring Barrister Frank Osia into the discourse. But let me come to you, Comrade Odomo. Now, you heard what I said, the statement coming from Senator Bamidele. Do you feel this is not about the presidency, but rather about the Senate president? Because the Senate president had not had it rosy since he was elected in June last year. And this more like Bamidele coming to say, well, this is more like a civilian coup. You want to take the rug out of the feet of the Senate president.
Yes, actually. Papi has been having many issues running battles with the Senate, not today. You also remember there was a period he made that popular, or do I call it unpopular statement that there was some stipend will be sent into this and that. Some of
infamous statement.
But it became very popular.
That's what I mean by infamous. Go ahead.
You know, many of the senators then too were bickering. They want to impeach the Senate president from behind us.
Yes. So
the way the Senate president came into office, most of the senators are still not happy with it.
Okay.
And especially from the other divide of the country.
The not precise. Let's
and that is why this man is still fighting to make sure that their voice is heard. And you know too, in politics, it is the opposition voice that actually determine most of these things.
Okay.
They will say, let the minority have their say, but let the majority have their way.
Voice. Yeah.
Yeah, that way, by the time you start making all this type of noise here and there, accusing people, whether falsely or rightfully, somebody one day will be forced to listen to him. But I think this one, that was why I called it a joke gone too far. He jumped into the middle of the sea without actually knowing the depth of the sea. Now that we have arrived at this point, I don't think they should just sweep the matter under the carpet. Though it's actually after the Mr. President, not only him, but there must be a voice, there must be a leading voice, and that is the opposition is occupying. They should not be thoroughly investigated.
So you feel behind every rumor there's a bit of element of truth?
That definitely.
Is that what you're pointing at?
Yes, when you say somebody is senseless, it doesn't have sense. But that word sense is there. It's only that it's not enough. So in every rumor like this, there must be some element of truth. That is what I want the Senate to actually look at. And if you look at it too deeply, it will involve so many things. So many things. So
you feel if investigation is being done, we still will get a whole lot of kind of work?
A whole lot that you will not be thinking that, now somebody has raised an issue of 500 million.
Well, we'll come to that because I'm really interested about that very one. But I'll plead with you, we're going on a break now. And when we come back, we'll continue our discussion looking at the suspension of Abdul Ningi, and not just the suspension, but also all those allegations that came out on account of ranking senior senators taking home 500 million, 17 billion for constituency project, and many other senators, including constituency project, that have already been completed into the budget.
Constituency project does not finish in any administration. The only thing is we don't even know what they are using it for. We don't.
Well, anyway, we'll use our time well, and we'll go on a break, and we'll come back and have more discussion.